Gimel Halacha Yud Aleph. Peirush HaMeir Tzibur. Abi shelo yora averos, even though he didn't do averos, but he separated himself from Klal Yisrael. He doesn't do mitzvahs, and he doesn't partake with their troubles, and he doesn't join in their fasts, which is to help. Elohelo b'darkei. He just goes along in the world like other goyim, like he belongs to a different nation. Let's go into the Peirush. The Rambam explains, the Peirush explains, what the Rambam says, which we found in Halacha Vav, those that don't have a Cheder don't have even though he didn't do any Averos, he's just not part of the Tzibur. Me'edas Yisrael, from Klal Yisrael, and he doesn't do any mitzvahs with them, and he doesn't feel their anguish, and he doesn't fast during their fast days to be held by Hashem. He goes about his ways just like someone who is a non-Jew, like he's not a Yisrael, even though he didn't sin. He has no portion of the world to come because he goes in his ways like one of the Goyei Oretz. He's not Jewish. In Hilchos Oval, he writes, somebody separates from the ways of the tzibur, and these are the people that took off the yoke of mitzvahs from on their throats, and they don't consider them as part of Klal Yisrael, but doing mitzvahs and honoring the festivals and sitting in the Botei Knesiyos of Botei Midrashos. They are like free birds, just like any non-Jew as well. There's a din that one, if they die chas v'shalom without doing tshuva, you do not mourn them. You don't mourn them. We should point out that there it says they take off the yoke of mitzvahs. He doesn't count it. What is it? Maybe it means oval, not that he takes off totally the mitzvahs from keeping them, because then he's a din of a mumma. Not only a Peirush HaMeir Tzibur, that he does mitzvahs, but he doesn't do it with everyone. Like, he doesn't come to shul. He's a loner. He has nothing to do with anyone. Not their troubles and not their fasts. It's considered that he has nothing to do with the tzibur. And he has no portion of the world to come. You see how important it is to be part of the tzibur, part of the congregation of Klal Yisrael. The Rae Gann Family cites Rabbeinu Yochanan and shiur Tshuva, that those who separate themselves from the ways of the tzibur have no chilek l'olam haba for a different reason. Because when everyone gathers together to serve Hashem and they make decisions how to fortify mitzvahs, they sanctify the Shem Hashem Yizgadol Yizkadosh. As it says, whenever there's a gathering, and when the king comes, when the elders of the congregation come, Yad Shifti Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is elevated through that which Klal Yisrael recognizes and shows the world that they recognize Hashem. As we find that this is also, it says, Vata Kodesh Yeshish Yisrael, which we say in Volotzin Goyel, is also, you are Kodesh, because Klal Yisrael praises you, but God is holy anyway. But by uplifting, by gathering together, it shows the world. And this person separates himself. He doesn't want to be together with them. And therefore, he is among those that, in a sense, they denigrate the word of Hashem, and therefore they have no portion of the world to come. Rabbeinu Yochanan adds, there's a second reason. Somebody who separates himself from the tzibur brings those people who are unsure of themselves also to say, well, if he doesn't have to do it, I don't have to do it either. So you can sometimes be a great person, you still be a machdias harabim by not having nothing to do with people. And therefore he disagrees with the Rambam is because it's not only if he shows himself not being a Jew, even if he's just separating himself from participating, then what's somebody who sins publicly. So Rambam says, "Ha'isa averos biyad Rami." He does his averos with an uplifted hand. Yokum, who doesn't have a cholik, he does not have a cholik l'olam haba. He doesn't have a portion in the world to come, whether he did it on light averos or he did it bein she'osa chamuris, or he did it by heavy averos. Ein lo cholik l'olam haba. V'zeu anikro yigal aponim b'Torah. This is someone who shows his face in Torah, meaning Usually, when a person is embarrassed to answer, he averts his eyes. That this person brazenly answers, he's not embarrassed from the fact that the Torah says it's forbidden to do it. And therefore, he's called Megala Ponim B'Torah. He shows his face in the English. You say in your face. He says it to the Torah. In Halacha Vov, we find in the name of Merkeves HaMishnah that this source for this is in Yerushalmi, in Sanhedrin. Megala Ponim has no portion of Olam Haba. This Snai, he has to do it in public. We'll turn the page. And his cohorts. And in Birshamash and others, he cites the words of Yerushalmi on the Mishnah that somebody who interprets Torah not Halacha, he has also no portion of the world to come. That means like Yoyokum. Halacha Mishnah cites Sanhedrin 99b that the Bavli disagrees with Yerushalmi, and they explain that he shows his face Kemenashe Mechizkiah, and not like Yoyokum and Yerushalmi. And therefore we have to understand why does the Rambam here cite the Yerushalmi, which is Yoyokum, and not Menashe. Furthermore, we have to understand how does the Mishnah bring a raya from Sanhedrin, Hazal in Sanhedrin, and the Posik in Bamidbar 15:30 says, the person who shall do so with an uplifted hand is Menashe Mechizkiyo. That he would sit and study without reasoning. In other words, he would come up with all types of logic which had no Torah foundation. And Rashi explains even more so, and he would even excise words from the Torah, saying Moshe didn't write them, or he added words which weren't necessary. Hamegala Ponim Torah means he does it in public and not mentioned in that Gemara, Menashe Mechizkiyo. And therefore it could be that's why the Rambam doesn't cite it over there, because it's not used as the language. Emek HaNetziv writes, how could the Rambam leave out the chait of Amisloitis b'Divrei Torah, Menashe, somebody who denigrates Torah like Menashe did so, even though he does mention it among those who denigrate Talmidei Chachomim in Halacha 14, as we'll see. And in Sefer Megala Ponim B'Torah is worse. Then obviously, if he speaks against the Torah itself, it's worse than speaking against the Talmidei Chachomim, or you have to honor because they keep Torah. Why does he mention it? Furthermore, he asks the question, the Posik of Nefesh Shetasa B'Yad Roma, somebody who does his transgressions brazenly so, is talking about somebody who actually activates a deed. Doesn't do a deed, even though he's speaking, but there's different levels. There's thought, speech, and action. And it's not called B'Yad Roma. B'Yad Roma references using action, like you use your hand. The Netziv explains that B'Yad Roma means he does it with brazenly. As in Sanhedrin, Yochum said that the generations before me did not know how to anger God, but I know more than them, and I can Chas v'Sholom cause God to become angry. The Bryce in Sanhedrin that speaks on Menashe and puts him on, gives him the name or the heading of Megala Ponim, meaning showing a side of the Torah which is not like Halacha, or trying to show a side of the Torah that's not like Halacha, is this concept of action. Because somebody who is a big chutzif and he denigrates Divrei Torah, and that is very similar to showing his face, and it's not included in Megal Aponim Torah because he didn't do an action. Therefore, the Rambam doesn't bring it la halacha because there's no actual action. Hamavazi Divrei Torah together with Megal Aponim Torah. Also, in Peirush HaMeir, the Rambam explains Megal Aponim according to the Yerushalmi that he actively does Averis like Yoakum and not like Menashe that only said so in his drushes, but you didn't see him actively doing something. So we see according to the Netziv, the Gemara and Sanhedrin is not the source to the Rambam, because Menashe did not do action. He was, and only Yoakum is someone who did Biyad Roma. And Lechem Mishnah asks on the Divrei Rambam that he says all sins one can atone through tshuva and Yom Kippurim. Chas v'sholom, sufferings here take away the edge of punishment, except for the Chilul Hashem. The suffering isn't enough. A person needs the Achmon L'san Misa to atone for it. That he left out the Das Chacham who disagree on Rabbi and Shavuos, and of the opinion that somebody who takes off the yoke of Torah, or he doesn't keep the bris of Avram, and he teaches Torah incorrectly, need for their atonement Misa as well. And the Rambam says that it doesn't have to be mentioned, these items, because all of these he mentioned here among those that don't have a Chelek L'Olam Haba. And that's why that in itself is called Hikoris Tikoris. That's why it's mentioned in the Torah, Hikoris Tikoris. The Acham learn that they need Misa for their atonement, and the Misa with Tshuva atones and helps them to receive a portion of the world to come. So the Rambam writes at the end of the Perek, when is this so? That all of these don't have a Chelek L'Olam Haba, may die without Tshuva. But if he repented and then died, we'll turn the page, and he's about Tshuva, he is a person who has a Chelek L'Olam Haba. So the Mishnah adds, therefore the Rambam doesn't mention Mefer Bris, because it was mentioned in Hilchos Milah, that a Jew who, as we had learned it earlier as well, desecrates the covenant of Avraham Avinu, has no Chelek L'Olam Haba. So therefore, the Rambam, all three that are mentioned by the Rambam Perik Oil, which means he denies the existence of Hashem, and Megal Aponim Torah, are mentioned here, because Umefer Bris is in Hilchos Milah. The Mishnah adds that all of these that he mentioned, the Aprikosim, Mishimorim, Machtir Rabim, if they do tshuva, it would seem they can still do tshuva. They can have a chibur sheni Olam Haba, but the atonement will not be complete without suffering, because they have the sin of Chilul Hashem, as we find in Yuma. How is Chilul Hashem? That which you do, those who do it cause others to lessen their fear of Hashem. And Rav says, like somebody who buys meat from a katzev, he doesn't pay him right away. By a Talmud Chacham, they're very careful. And Avoyin Chilul Hashem, he paskins, you need Yisurim to complete the Kapora. According to the Rambam, when they die with Tshuva, then even though they transgress so heavily, they get a Chelek L'Olam Haba. And we'll continue Halacha Yud Beis in the next shiur, Mitzvah Hashem.